Want some, get some.
How about those friggin' Pirates?
Yes, I am a pirate.
You have to go with the Pirates because, of course, they have cannons and everything.
It's a pirate's life for me.
Be proud of who you are and what you are. You're Pirates.
It is a first down. Pirates.
Because when you're at East Carolina, you go for it every time. Or you don't coach at East Carolina, you don't come to East Carolina, you don't play at East Carolina with a weak heart. Write it.
I think I've ever been in a building as loud as that was. It was deafening in there.
We will get to Omaha. I can promise you that.
Pen and purple all night long in Eastern North Carolina.
You're watching The Sports Objective, the podcast for Pirates.
Yeah. My heart is purple and gold. I'm a pirate down to my soul. And I don't back down, not at all. Find out when the cannons explode.
Welcome into the Pirate Preview right here on the Sports Objective. I'm Dave Richmond along with my buddy in the bottom left corner. Playing tonight is Kyle from LaGrange Barber. How are you?
What's going on, Dave? It's good to be here as we preview Old Dominion, see if we can get to 2-0 on the season as we play in the best stadium in all of the Group of Five this weekend. So that's exciting.
Let's go down to China Grove in the western part of the state. My dear friend Bubba Rosenbaum. What's up, dude?
You're fired up for, very intriguing matchup with Old Dominion. These two teams, like to play very fast and each had 14 possessions a week ago, and only a couple of those were more than about 2 minutes and 15 seconds. So very interested to see how many plays are run and how many possessions there are on Saturday night.
And let's also bring former linebacker under Steve Logan. He's the future owner of Semenza Rum. Matt Semenza, how are you, man?
Let's go. What's up, fellas? A subdued KFLGB tonight in that intro, but I'm looking forward to this weekend, fellas, against ODU. A big game. They're all big games, but this is one. We had talked about in the preseason that East Carolina has a ton of 50-50 games. When you look at the schedule, every game is winnable, but they're 50-50 games. So I see this just as that. This is a 50-50 game where we need to go up there and play well and hopefully come back with a win.
No doubt. And Kyle and Bubba and Matt, we were talking about that in the group chat. You're exactly right about that. The very fact that every single game, 50-50 games, and Matt, you made a great point. This game is huge, not only for the players, but the fans, because, Kyle, you talked about it, but can you imagine you go up and get a nice road win at ODU, not taking them for granted, and then you come home and you're 2-0, and you have App State. That place, Dowdy Ficklin on the 14th. Yeah, I knew as soon as I said I was wrong. The 14th will be rocking at 4:00.
Yeah, if we can get I think either way, unless we get blown out. As long as we play well, I think it'll be pretty rocking. But if we can win, if we're 2-0, then yeah, I think it will be pretty rowdy. In Dowdy, to sound cliche. But first things first, worry about the Monarchs.
Exactly.
Formidable opponent, like Bubba said, similar offense, they're very up-tempo. Defense performed well against South Carolina. How much was that to do with South Carolina's offense? We'll find out Saturday. Talking about probably a sellout. I think they're like 1,500 seats away from a sellout. As Ricky Ronnie referred to it as the best stadium in all of the Group of Five. So it's a big game for both teams. We got App State right after. They got Virginia Tech right after. So this is a big game for both teams.
Yeah, and the very fact of, guys, I looked on SeatGeek right before the show, and like you said, Kyle, 1,500 tickets available. But the tickets are very reasonable, $18 to even on secondary markets like SeatGeek, $18 to $108. That's still not bad. And so the reason I bring that up is I love the secondary market, but also I wanted to see for Pirate fans, when I heard that yesterday, 1,500 tickets left. Then you go, wow. And as Elliot mentioned, yeah, Elliot, only 21,000. And so there's really not, I doubt, Bubba, is there a bad seat in the house?
I've never been to a game there.
Okay. Sorry, I thought you had.
But no, I have been to the stadium. Went to Ballard Stadium last summer on the way home from Connecticut, and did not go into the upper deck, where my seat will be on Saturday night. But yeah, the seats are very close to the field. About a $70 million renovation of the stadium that took place several years ago. This will be, of course, just the second time the Pirates have played there. We played there in Coach Houston's first year, won a close game in 2019, and going way back, when Old Dominion wasn't even known as Old Dominion, and they were known as William and Mary Norfolk Division. The programs have played 7 times back then from 1934 to 1940, but in the modern era, the Pirates are 4-0 against the Monarchs, winning 52-38 in 2013, and then Scotty Montgomery's last year, that entertaining, and we were a bit fortunate there at the end of that one, winning 37-35. Call or two went our way. And then Coach Houston's first year, that game I referenced, 24-21, where you had about a 75 or 80-yard post route to Blake Prohl from Holton Ahlers, and then also the block punt. And then most recently, the first game of this 6-game series back in 2022, 39-21 in Greenville, and I guess game 2 of that season. But yeah, the Pirates will meet the Monarchs after Saturday, 2027 in Norfolk, and then 29 in Greenville, 30 and 31 in Greenville. So again, six games in this series, and this is game 2 of that deal.
I feel like Kyle, because Kyle likes to go to a lot of concerts like me, but Kyle and Matt and Bubba, this has been a new problem for me because there's so many great away games this year and regional games that we can go to, and a regional conference game in Charlotte.
Yeah, I know a lot of Pirate fans. It sounds like more and more are planning on making the trip to Norfolk to watch the Pirates and the Monarchs play in the best stadium in all of the Group of 5.
Wow.
So
that's awesome.
Yeah. So it's
that is some claim.
Say again, Matt.
That is some claim that was made, huh? About that?
Yeah. I'm gonna reference it as that for the whole rest of the show, so you guys get used to it.
Hey, by the way, every time
the thing is, I mean, I understand, it's coming from their head coach, but it's not a bad atmosphere, but to say the best in all of the so-called Group of 5, no. There are certainly several others that clearly, in my opinion, rank ahead of it. But one thing I'll say, Old Dominion, from the moment they started their program back, I guess about 15 years ago now, they have largely, they sold it out back when they were playing Division III schools, before they made that transition back to FBS. When they were playing Chowan and probably, I think, Methodist and people like that, they were packing the house, and honestly, they almost drew better then than they do now, which is very strange. When the stadium wasn't as nice, and obviously that I'm sure has something to do with the increased exposure, but then also just perhaps some of that novelty wearing off, and then the program obviously didn't win as much as they had in those FCS days.
Hey,
they were on a trajectory in those days to probably become one of the top FCS programs in the country, and we're playing very regional schedule. And like you said, the new novelty, but I think this year South Carolina games got the fan base fired up. I'm sure they sold a lot of season tickets with ECU and Virginia Tech both coming there, and so it's good to see them selling it out this weekend with the help of some Pirates.
And that's one thing about this series, why Old Dominion, I look at them in a different light than Charlotte, because they did prove themselves as far as packing the house time and time again. When they weren't playing FBS competition and the likes of
And competed in one at the
Tech, East
FCS level,
Carolina, etc.
And competed in one at the FCS level,
right?
Unlike Charlotte that just said, "Hey, we're going to be FBS now because
have
we
everything handed to them because they're located in Charlotte."
Yeah, I would have much rather had Old Dominion in the American than Charlotte, and we discussed that ad nauseum when the invitations happened.
No doubt. Now, actually, for a second here, I want to give Kyle credit because, and I'm being dead serious here, because in the off season, we were kind of breaking down the schedule and we talked a lot about, some of the teams that really pop out, right? Like App State game pops out at you, the Liberty game pops out. And when you really looked at the schedule, it was kind of easy to, take a quick glance over ODU. But Kyle, has been very consistent in saying that this is a really big game, an important game, and not a team to overlook. And so I pulled Phil Steele's magazine, fellas, to try to get a bird's eye view, a 15,000-foot view of what we're kind of looking at here. And just to give some facts about ODU here, they were 6-7 last year. They returned 6 starters on offense and 4 on defense. All right, quarterback Grant Wilson is back. Phil Steele had them ranked preseason 105th in his power ranking, but that can be misleading because when you look at what they did last year, especially down the stretch, they didn't win every game, but they're very competitive in every game. And I'll just give you some examples here. They beat App State 28-21. They lost to James Madison at James Madison, but the score was 27-30. All right. They come back. They lose to Coastal 24-28. They lost to Wake Forest 24-27. So my point is this. Last week, they lose to South Carolina, 23-19, I think it was.
Yeah.
Right.
My point is this. This team is not a world beater. They're not going to blow you off the, like talent-wise, you're not going to be incredibly impressed. But this is a team that finds a way to be in almost every game. When you look at them, they're in almost every single game.
Right.
And in reality, they really should have won that game last week against South Carolina. They turned it over several times, some bad turnovers. But this is a dangerous team. And, it's the type of game where it's early in the season, but you really have to win it. Like you guys said at the start of the show, if you want to pack the stadium next week for App State, go ahead and win this game, find a way to get out of there with a W. And now you're rolling if you're ECU. So, Kyle, I agree with you. Looking at this schedule, you had it right. I mean, this is a team that is dangerous, and they played well last year.
They had 4 turnovers in that 23-19 loss last week to South Carolina. 2 of those inside their 5-yard line that just essentially handed South Carolina touchdowns, and then they were trailing 10-7, I think mid to late second quarter, had first and goal at the Gamecock 9 and threw a pick in the end zone, like I said, on first down. So just a poor throw where you had the cornerback was able to come off his man and pick it off, much like the throw we saw from Jake Garcia going toward the Murphy Center, where you had 2 receivers where the spacing wasn't the best, and and the quarterback could have thrown it with more touch. So that was another at least 3, but potentially 7 points they didn't get. So very much like our 2016 game at South Carolina, where it was the twilight zone instead of the red zone.
3, what was it? 3? Didn't we have 3 times that we went in the red zone and didn't score? Like we were, or it was inside the 10, maybe.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. It was ridiculous. But back to ODU is Matt was talking about Phil Steele and where Phil had him ranked. I believe Phil thinks there, if I remember right, Matt, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe Phil thinks their defense was going to take a step back this year, if I remember right. And maybe I'm wrong on that because they have a really good middle linebacker. There was some reason he doesn't think they're going to be as good as they were last year.
Could be the
But
4 starters back, Kyle. Maybe
yeah,
he's looking at 4 starters back and sort of basing it off that. And then I think that middle linebacker you just referenced, I think he's coming off ACL surgery, if I'm not mistaken.
okay.
So just, that could be why.
Okay. So, but, as he mentions, I do remember this, that, he was wrong about him last year, so he could be wrong about him again this year. I think Ricky Ronnie's a good coach. Offensively, so a good defensive-minded coach, Penn State defensive coordinator, and then they run a similar, at least in terms of tempo, a similar offense to as we do. So, no, I think it's an intriguing matchup. I think both teams. I think both teams think they're going to win this game. I think
Right.
and I don't mean just the teams. Teams always think they're going to win. The fan bases. I think East Carolina fans expect to win the game, and I think Old Dominion fans expect to win the game. I think it's going to be a pretty good ball game, and I think it's probably going to be a pretty good atmosphere up there. So it's I think both teams are kind of looking ahead. At least the fan bases are to App State and Virginia Tech, respectively. But this is a big ball game for both teams, and again, I will keep saying this, and I want to win this game, but just because if we were to lose this doesn't mean we're going to lose to App next weekend. Old Dominion beat App last year up in Norfolk, so just keep that in mind, everybody. I'm not saying we're going to lose that to Old Dominion, but if we do, don't think that means we're going to lose to App for sure. I'm just going to say that, and I'm just going to keep saying that.
Every time I hear the head coach of Old Dominion, Ricky Ronnie, I think about Ricky Bobby.
Ricky Bobby, yes.
You ain't first, you last. So, what do you think, Matt?
I love it. And can we get Lib's quote up on the screen here? Lib's is bringing it tonight. Look at my guy, Libiano, very confident. Stop. We win by more than Caitlin Clark scores in her next game. So Caitlin Clark's been averaging about 24 points a game since the All-Star break. Yeah. So Libiano, very confident pick. I like it.
Oh, I hope he's right.
I think, I was going to say is that Libiano and Semenza, 2 of the best linebackers to ever play at East Carolina. What do you guys think about the defense? The defense.
I appreciate that, Dave. I appreciate that. Very generous, though, in my regard.
No, y'all were both very good in the day back in the day.
Matt. You know what you did to
Deion Sanders. You just tore him all to pieces. I remember that.
That is true. And there's a waitress in Greenville that believes that story.
Correct.
And I'm an astronaut. Remember?
Some interesting space cadet.
Some good points here by some of our viewers. Not surprisingly, JR Johnny Robertson saying
Johnny Stats
red zone defense will be huge for coming up with the road win. He said in the previous 4 meetings, East Carolina and Old Dominion have combined to score on 33 of 35 red zone appearances. These two teams, they combined. We talked about the turnover woes for each in the opener. A combined 10 turnovers, 6 for the Pirates, 4 for Old Dominion down at South Carolina. And, a large percentage of those, I think at least 6 out of those 10, came either in the red zone or approaching the red zone. So, that will be critical, and that's certainly not breaking any ground. That's making an obvious statement, but it's something that, here Axel with also an excellent point. The Monarchs were able to produce 4 sacks a week ago. The Pirates surrendered just 1 against Norfolk State, and I really think that we're going to have to have some semblance of a ground game. Not that we're going to have to run for 175, 200 yards, but if we can rush for close to 100 yards and have a threat there to help the offensive line out, then that would certainly be a great benefit.
Yeah, I would fully expect us to be balanced this week. We will not be as pass heavy, and I know when you look at the stat sheet, it wasn't as pass heavy as it seemed because all the runs late. But I would be shocked as we're early in the game if we're as pass heavy as we were against Norfolk State. I expect us to establish a run game. We've definitely got enough backs. One of them ought to be able to do it.
And part of that is us with all the RPOs, taking what was there with Norfolk State, playing soft on the perimeter and getting the ball out to Brock Spalding and Anthony Smith, etc. But yeah, that's definitely something to keep an eye on, how the offensive line plays against a much more challenging front seven.
And 4 sacks against an SEC opponent. I don't know how good South Carolina's going to be on offense this year, but they got to have talent on their offensive line. Unless their offensive line coach is just dog crap. So that's concerning to me to hear that.
Against a very mobile quarterback in Sellers.
Yeah, it's like I watched a lot of that game last week, and I'm not quite sure what to make of that ODU South Carolina game, and I'll tell you why. I think it was a classic example of a coach trying to hold back in week one. I think Shane Beamer thought he was going to come out and just steamroll ODU, and his game plan was very vanilla, right. And it almost bit them because they almost thought that, and they should have lost that game. But
I heard somebody else say that, Matt, an analyst on TV, and I don't remember who it was or where it was.
Yeah, I mean, it just was not impressive. South Carolina's quarterback almost looked as bad as Norfolk State's quarterback. I mean, he cannot throw the ball. So, it became a one-dimensional game defensively for ODU. I think South Carolina ran the ball like 60 times. If you look at the stat sheet, I don't have it, but I think they ran the ball like bubble. No?
Yeah. Right around, it was at least 53, 55 attempts. And yeah, they ran for 176 yards or thereabouts, 66, which came from Lenore Sellers, the quarterback, on design runs for the most part. So yes, they ran for 176, but it was 3.1 per carry.
Ooh, that's rough. I mean, for an SEC team on that many carries, that many attempts to only average 3.1 yards a carry.
So you got a stout D line. Y'all are getting me worried now. 3.1 yards a carry and 3 sacks. Now, damn it, you get me concerned.
I think
4 sacks. Who's counting?
4 sacks. Well, even better.
I'll tell you this. I think ODU is better than what people think.
This game is going to be 13-10.
And I think that South Carolina is not very good. And so between those two, that's why it is what it is. I'm not knocking Old Dominion, but I think it's going to be very, very crazy. Over under. I know that Elliot's been asking for that, but
I'm taking the under. I'm taking the under based on what I saw out of our defense. And I didn't watch any of the ODU South Carolina game, but based on what you're telling me, their defense did. I don't care how vanilla South Carolina was. I'm taking the under.
Will there be more combined possessions? Last week for these two teams, that would have been 28. Will there be more combined possessions than total points for the winning team?
That's good. Yes, there will. And by the way, if Elliot's asking what the over/under is, I think it's 55. Is that right, Bubba? Do you know?
I'll double check on that.
I'm pulling it up right now, fellas. On
so you're thinking
I am taking the under
13 and 10.
No, not literally, but I am taking.
Oh, okay.
I think 54.5.
54.5. I'm thinking something like 23-20.
Okay, I can see that. I can buy that. Now, when you said 13-10, I'm like, wow.
No.
I thought you were for real.
Remember the last, like I just mentioned, the previous game, or the only other time we've played in Norfolk at Ballard Stadium, it was 24-21.
Yeah, there you go.
So now this line has shifted back to ODU -1 is what I'm seeing right now.
Really?
Wow.
So the line is now going in favor of ODU. So is that on Vegas Insider, or what are you going by?
So I'm on covers.com.
I don't never use that site. Let me check Vegas Insider.
So my app, the Score app, I believe this is the line from ESPN, but the line opened ODU -2.5 very quickly within a matter of 24 hours or so, went to ECU -2.5, and now, at least from this sports book, it's -1.5.
A minus 1.5 ECU?
In the favor of ODU.
Okay, let me check Vegas Insider. But I wonder what would have flipped it. Okay, so you got all right. So you got your early bidders who got their lines who got it in early, and now you got your people betting late. So I'm never quite sure who knows more, the people who bet early or the people that bet late. But now the late money is going on ODU, so that's interesting.
FanDuel has ECU minus 1.5.
Okay, hold on. I'm going to check Vegas Insider because I think they're pretty much the authority in my opinion. So give me 1 second. Talk amongst yourselves.
The public has 61% of the betting public on covers.com. And this is it's a relatively small sample size, like roughly 500 people. 61% in favor of ECU.
Yeah,
Take that for what it's worth. Take that for what it's worth.
Yeah. So I think it looks like I've been thinking thinking about this before the line came out, that it was to me, this feels like a field goal, and we'll talk about it at the end of the show, our predictions. But don't you guys think that this is like I think Kyle does, but a field goal kind of game, like it comes down to the kicker?
I definitely think special teams could play a huge part in this, Dave. I really do.
Yeah, Vegas Insider has it at -1 for ODU. I'll make this statement. Typically, in my opinion, early bettors versus late bettors, I think people who see a line early and say, I want in on that now, I think East Carolina is going to win that game. They were betting heavy because if you're taking ECU in the points, you're pretty much betting us to win at 2.5. So that flipped it. So now you got your late bettors who are doing parlays and stuff. So I would say the people that are more knowledgeable, I would say probably see lines. I would say probably a lot of your professional gamblers probably put their money down on Sunday as soon as the lines come out. Whereas your average man, your common man, if you will, probably waits until later in the week to bet. So that's my assumption. Really doesn't make a damn. It's a pick'em game, and we'll see what happens on Saturday. It's just interesting conversation, really.
So the son of a plumber, you're gonna wait till the very end.
I'm not betting this game at all. I wouldn't touch this game with a 10-foot pole.
Well, just like we always talk about, if it's a pick'em game, but both going back and forth on lines. I mean, what if it could break either way, right? It could go further, maybe 2 or 3 more.
It could go back in our favor. It could go, or ODU could become a bigger favorite, or it could just hold steady. I'm gonna make a bold prediction. I'm gonna say it's even Saturday.
Wow.
So Dave, James chiming in from Hattiesburg, says, here's a factor I haven't seen any of you talk about yet, but ODU has been to 2 bowl games in the last 3 years. Winning breeds a winning attitude. So I think they go into these games like South Carolina expecting to compete and win. No matter how sorry South Carolina is on offense, they expected to win.
Yeah.
Now, I agree. Ricky Ronnie, year 5, they did not play in 2020. So that's the reason, if you look at his record, you're like, how could it be year 5? Because the Monarchs chose not to play in 2020, but in 21, 6-7, 5-3, lost in the Myrtle Beach Bowl to Tulsa, if I recall correctly. Then 3-9, 2-6, and then last year 6-7, 5-3, and lost in the Bahamas Bowl, the famous Toastery Bowl, which was moved from the Bahamas to Jerry Richardson Stadium on the campus of the Charlotte 49ers. And they lost that game after having a 3-touchdown lead to Western Kentucky.
Yeah, I forgot about that game, actually. I remember watching it now. James makes a good point in terms of winning. It sounds like James is taking the Monarchs, rooting for his conference mates there.
He actually said he thought I'm pretty sure he thinks we'll win in a close game like we did last time in Norfolk.
I'm messing with James. I wouldn't blame him at all if he took ODU. They're at home.
I do think James makes it. Oh, sorry, Dave. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
James does make a great point, and how important culture is, and the attitude of your team and learning how to win, and you saw that, like, an example of that, of what James is talking about, is last week when North Dakota State played in Boulder against Colorado. And if you're just kind of a casual college football fan, you're saying, oh, Colorado, they have 22 4 and 5 stars on their roster. There's no way North Dakota State can hang. Their FCS, blah, blah, blah. If you watch college football, you knew that was going to be a dogfight. That's a winning culture. That's a team who expects to win every game. Now, so I think James makes a really good point. With that said, I'm taking the Pirates, fellas. All day.
No doubt. I really believe the Pirates are I tell you what, I was really happy to see that all the off-season stuff, their offense, I know it was Norfolk State, so you can tell me, yeah, it's Norfolk State, but still, we made a statement in that game, and not knocking Old Dominion. I think they're a very good team. I think it's going to be a close game, but we will win the game. I do feel like we will.
We talk about, how that ODU defense, they were very good stopping the run against the Gamecocks, and then generated 4 sacks. On the other side, the Monarchs surrendered 5 sacks. The Pirates didn't generate a sack, but that was largely, because of
they didn't pass.
Exactly, because they only threw the ball 19 times, and when they did, it was quick for the most part. So don't read too much into that, but that is something that we struggled with the season ago. Very interested to see how we're able to get pressure on Wilson on Saturday. Grant Wilson, number 7, 6'3", 217-pound quarterback, a transfer from Fordham. He was at Old Dominion last year against the Gamecocks, 22 out of 38, 197, a touchdown and 2 picks. I mentioned one of those came in the end zone on 1st and goal, and the other one was coming off the goal line. It was ill-advised throw, kind of late, all arm in the middle of the field. That was a relatively easy interception for South Carolina. A season ago, Wilson started 11 of the Monarchs games. He completed a decent percentage of his passes, 2150 as far as the yards he threw for, 17 touchdowns and 8 picks. Also ran for close to 300 yards and 4 touchdowns. So he does have good mobility. He ran for a 36-yard touchdown against the Gamecocks. You look at his numbers, 11 for 16, but that obviously took into consideration those 5 sacks, which lost 40 yards.
Yeah, he's a good quarterback, and I'm glad you mentioned his mobility because he does, and so does ours. Garcia's mobile also. So no, I think I'm glad ODU played well against South Carolina, because a lot of our fans, I don't know if they just weren't paying attention to ODU last year and didn't realize that they were a bowl team and they beat App up there. But I think their performance against South Carolina got a lot of our fans' attention because I knew what they had, and I guess it would have been good maybe if South Carolina beat them by 30 and they sucked. That would have been even better. But being they are kind of what I thought they were going to be, I'm glad they played well against South Carolina. So that way, our fans aren't going to lose their minds, hopefully, if we go up there and lose a close one. And I'm not predicting that. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, Kyle. And I actually think this is really good for East Carolina, for the fact that our team, our players, they're going to be watching that film. They've been watching it all week. And what they're saying to themselves is, hey, this is a team that went toe-to-toe with an SEC team. And listen, South Carolina might not be a top half of the league, but they're still in the SEC, so we know they have talent. So I think it gets the team's attention. And I'm sure these guys were mentally dialed in. Listen, coming off a 2-10 season, I don't care who we're playing. If we're playing Little Sisters of the Poor, you need to be ready to go. But but I think it does give you a little extra edge.
Yeah, and by the way, guys, when we were talking earlier in the show, if you're just joining us about 50-50 games, this makes me think about, if you think about it, and you guys are going to laugh because Kyle was talking about, if you're just joining us, Ricky Ronnie saying that they have the best stadium in the group of five. So for me personally, this is kind of like with all these 50-50 games, guys, I might be exaggerating on some, but it's almost like we have a bowl game every week because you got a really close matchup. And you look at the schedule with Old Dominion, when you look at App State, you look at Liberty, UTSA, Charlotte, you could look at all the games back to back to back to back. Every single week is going to be extremely important to win the game.
Yeah, I don't know about a bowl game every week, but it is a competitive schedule, more so than what people wanted to give it credit for. And
Yep.
I do think early on there's a lot of 50-50 games, as you say. And, or, I would say when you look at a case like App State and Liberty, I would think that they would, particularly with Liberty being on the road, I would say maybe that one's a little less than 50-50. But, although Liberty did struggle with Campbell, so who knows? But all focus is on Old Dominion right now. And speaking of against South Carolina, getting the guys' attention. Another thing, there's a lot of crossover here with Virginia talent. A lot of talent from Virginia and North Carolina on the Old Dominion team, and a lot of talent from Virginia and North Carolina, but particularly Virginia on our team. So, a lot of the players know each other, which you don't see a lot in these days in college football, because everybody transfers everywhere. But particularly on our defense, I think there's a lot of familiarity with some of the ODU players. So that'll be interesting to see how that goes. Things might get a little heated out there.
Yeah, one of those relationships that you referenced, guys knew one another, perhaps played on the same team in high school. Big Deontay Johnson, he and Isaiah Page, number one, the 5'8", 160-pound senior receiver for the Monarchs that had the 72-yard touchdown early on against the Gamecocks. 8 catches in the game for 115 yards. So a season ago, he led ODU 43 for 445 and a couple scores. So he's the guy you certainly have to keep an eye on. And you have also number 8, Miles Austin. He's a transfer from Pitt. This is his second season with the Monarchs. 6'1", 180-pound redshirt junior. He also had 5 catches for 40 yards against South Carolina. At running back, you have a pair of transfers. So much like the Pirates, not at running back, but just in general, the portal has been very important for ODU. Number 5, Aaron Young, 5'2", 200-pound senior from Rutgers.
5'2".
5'10", 200.
Okay, I heard 5'2".
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. He's shorter than, significantly shorter than Junior Smith. No, but 5'10", 200-pound senior from Rutgers, 16 carries for 56 yards against South Carolina. And then number 4, Bryce Duke, 6 feet, 210 pounds, a junior, a transfer from Virginia Tech, had 7 attempts for 36 yards and with a long of 13, which was Old Dominion's long rush against the Gamecocks. And shifting over to defense, they had 5 different guys with 7+ tackles, led by redshirt sophomore safety number 2, Patrick Smith Young, with 9 tackles, 2.5 TFLs. And he is a North Texas transfer. And then you also had a South Florida transfer at safety, 5'9", 190 pounds, Will Jones II, with 7 tackles. And he also wears number 7. And then Jerron Manning, Koa Natola, and Jaleel Colbreth. They also had 7 tackles. Then you have, one of our viewers here, referenced Jason Henderson, the All-American linebacker that Matt referenced on the Pirate Football Playback. He has something ridiculous like 450 career tackles, and he had just 3 against the Gamecocks, but 6'1", 225 linebacker, number 42. So he's someone that we'll certainly have to account for. And then you also have Mario Thompson that had a couple sacks against South Carolina. He's a 6 foot, 220-pound sophomore linebacker.
If I was him, every time I got a sack, I would stand up and go, "It's me, Mario."
Oh my God.
Oh, that's great.
That's Kyle from LaGrange right there, ladies and gentlemen.
Vintage Kyle.
No
Chuck
doubt.
Saye was
say that again?
Talking about Jason Henderson, the linebacker that I mentioned that was an All-American in previous seasons. But he said he thinks that if we have a similar game plan to what we did against Norfolk State, that will do. And in his opinion, I think we'll have to. And I say
We
this,
might want to play the pass a little better.
Yeah, I think we'll have to. I think we'll have to run the ball better. But then again, you look at the Florida game in 2015, and we lost the game, but we ran for, I think, like 15 yards that night in the swamp, but we threw for 400, and we're driving to win the game when we turned it over.
Yeah, we probably need to concentrate on the pass a little more. ODU can throw it a little better than Norfolk State. So, Matt, did you ask me to say that it's me and Mario again, or
I want to hear that one more time. I want to hear that.
It's
one more
me,
time.
Mario.
Oh, boy.
Only Kyle, man. Only Kyle.
I like it, bro. I like it.
Forget about your predictions in the.
But guys, this is. I was kind of thinking earlier about what I see as the keys to the game, and I really think it's going to come down to who can get off the field on third down. And the reason why is because you have two up-tempo teams, two up-tempo offenses, like to go fast. And if you can essentially get off the field, like if you can get a 3-and-out, get your defense off the field, put your offense back out there quickly, you can start to wear them out. So I think, it sounds a little cliche, and it's something Blake Harrell talks about all the time. Last week, we were tremendous on third down. Tremendous.
We got one third down, right?
I think they were 1 for 17 on third down.
That's correct.
Obviously, you're not going to get that maybe once every few years where you're that efficient on third down defense. But I think if we can win that battle, we're going to be in really good shape here.
Do we know about ODU special teams? Our special teams look really solid, and we didn't attempt a field goal, but everything else looked really solid on special teams. Do we know how ODU is on special teams?
I have a little information on them, Kyle. Their punter, Seamus Hall, 6 punts for just over 40 yards, 40.2 against South Carolina, 2 downed inside the 20. Their kicker, Ethan Sanchez, he was 2 for 2 with a long of 40. And then you have their kickoff specialist, Ethan Chang. He's a transfer from Mississippi State. And he had 5 kickoffs in the game, and 2 of those were for touchbacks. In the return game, he only had 1 attempt, 2 attempts. One of those, I believe, is Devin Roche, if I'm pronouncing that last name correctly. Number 3, a return for 17 yards, and then Justin McKeithen, 1 for 7. So, perhaps a situation, where I don't know if it's a sky kick or to the up man, or a situation where there's a bobble, but nothing really to speak of in the kick return game, at least against the Gamecocks. I'm not sure. Going back to last season, I'll see if I can find that info.
What about vice versa? Do you know how South Carolina did returning kicks and punts against the Monarchs?
Yeah, I'll find that out as well.
Yeah. What do you guys think about as far as I know we've seen some people here, but as far as the amount of Pirates, how many Pirates do you think will go? We have so many Pirates in that 757, Norfolk, Virginia, Northern Virginia. Maybe they travel down. We got JR from that area. But we got a lot of people from Virginia, North Carolina, northeastern North Carolina, like I am. It's a 2-hour drive to Norfolk, easy drive for us. So just want to get your thoughts on that. What do you think? How well do you think we'll travel?
Well, it seems like the I know tickets sold through East Carolina had been pretty low initially, but I think a lot has picked up in the last week. It sounds like that a lot of Pirate fans are going. I would imagine a lot of Pirate fans also bought their tickets for ODU or in the secondary market. I'm going. This is just a pure guess based on things I've seen people saying they're going, knowing the amount of people that live in Virginia or northeastern North Carolina or DC that can make it to the game. I'm gonna guess. I'm gonna guess. I'm gonna guess 2,500.
2,500. Okay.
Good guess, because that's exactly the number that I had in mind, Kyle. We were allotted 1,400 by Old Dominion, and as of a week and a half ago, we had sold about half that. And like you said, there's been a lot of folks saying that they've been purchasing tickets. So I think between that, the secondary market, or directly through Old Dominion, I think 2,500 is very possible.
Well, that'll be a nice crowd for us. And hey, especially the one thing, guys, I want to hear during the game and obviously the end of the game when we're winning is the purple gold chant there in Norfolk. That would be fantastic.
I always love the ECU chant on the road when we're winning. When you start to hear them chant ECU, that's yeah, I don't give a damn. They can chant booger, booger, booger as long as we win the game.
What in the world?
Guys, I'll say this. I think having watched both teams last week, I think East Carolina is the more talented team. I really believe we have more talent. I think when you look at our skill positions offensively, I think when you look at our defense, especially that front seven, man, I think we're the more talented team. So if we can play a clean game, right? Again, I don't want to sound cliche, but this is all true. If you can play a clean game, not turn the ball over, and that talent can win out, I do think we have the better personnel on the field.
Speaking of playing a clean game, Robert Dedrick chimed in regarding the forecast, which was an aspect we have not mentioned yet, I don't believe, but I intended on doing just that. It's about 65% was the latest that I had seen. He said 40 to 55. But
is that at game time?
The good news is that unless it's changed, that that rain is in the morning or early afternoon. It's supposed to be out of there with partly cloudy skies by 6 o'clock. So let's hope that's the case. But kind of piggybacking on Robert's comment here with what James is saying as far as the Pirates jumping out early and seeing how you deal with in-game adversity and clearly just taking care of the football period, but especially if you have a wet ball and for two teams that combined for 10 turnovers last week, and quarterbacks that are going to clearly Grant Wilson faced a very good defense, or at least what's an above average defense with the Gamecocks. Jake Garcia not so much, and so last week with a few bad decisions, this week going against a much better defense and having to make quicker decisions, and you would assume tighter coverage. How's that going to work, especially if you have the element of rain?
Well, I haven't checked the forecast for up there, but you're saying the rain's going to be early in the day. So that 40, 50, 60% chance comes a 0% chance if the forecast to kickoff is partly cloudy. So hopefully weather's a non-factor. And again, everybody watching who's planning on going, again, remember that forecast, at least according to Mr. Rosenbaum, is that weather's going to be early in the day. So don't let that keep you from going if you're planning on going. I'm going to go check the weather forecast now. Again, you guys talk amongst yourselves.
All right. And Kyle, before you step away for a moment, you got James chiming in. He said, Kyle, Southern Miss, Illinois, 2002. Southern Miss fans chanting USM, USM. And then Pam Ward they're chanting USA for Conference USA.
Oh God, I remember that vividly. Southern Miss just upset Illinois in the Rock, and they were chanting USM, USM, and Pam Ward goes, and they're chanting USA for Conference USA. Like, good God.
And
Nobody chants the name of their conference except Mississippi State fans when they chant SEC.
John White chiming in via YouTube saying, chance of rain late in the afternoon as well, but still not a lot of total rain forecasted. And yes, important point here by Richard Allsbrook. Do they have artificial turf? Yes, they do.
All right. Well, that
and then Elliot said he posted the weather. Here we go. Weather for Saturday: showers in the morning, cloudy in the afternoon, high of 79. Winds out of the west to southwest, 10 to 15 miles per hour. Chance of rain, like I said, 60%. It's what I've been seeing. And then he said in the evening, temperature 62. 13 mile per hour winds, mostly cloudy.
I got 75, no rain at kickoff at 6 o'clock. 75, no rain, mostly cloudy at kickoff.
Yeah, which would be great.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Well, in fact, the rain stops about 3 p.m. according to what I just saw. So we got 3 hours to play with.
Great question here by Richard Allsbrook. We're talking about, how will the Pirates, run block as well as protect against Old Dominion. He said, how do we manage our running backs? We are loaded. My guess is that, after seeing at least four running backs, play in the opener, with Rajay, Marlon Gunn, Javius Bond, and then London Montgomery, I think the majority of the reps in this one will probably be with Harrison Bond, but we shall see. And keep in mind, I don't think we noted this on the Pirate Football Playback. Marlon Gunn, we did mention how he played sparingly, but I believe he was also coming off an injury in a car wreck, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I talked about London on his VIP chat over on H2C, and he spoke of how London is really good with the ball in his hands in practice also. So that wasn't a surprise to anybody. What his element of the game is he's not picking up on is pass block, pass protect, and he doesn't catch the ball very well at the backfield, which not catching the ball, whatever. You just don't throw it to him. But he's got to get his pass protection up. He's got to be able to pass block. I really liked him with the ball in his hands, and I go back to the Vontavious Cooper thing, and Lincoln didn't want to play him right away, and still didn't want to play him even after the UTEP performance that much because he couldn't pass block. But to me, you got to play the running back who's best with the ball in his hand, and that was a small sample size from London Montgomery. Maybe I'm overreacting, but as I said, there's one thing I do think I'm pretty good at, and that's judging running back talent. I think he's going to be good, and I think you're going to have to get the ball in his hand more. Bond's explosive. Rajay is solid, in everything. You're just a good all-around back. But I think we'll see all three of them because I think they saw it in London, even though it was against Norfolk State in a game. They saw it, and they're seeing it in practice. So I think I'd be shocked if we don't see him get some carries Saturday.
Well, you think about, after Marlon Gunn had a bit of a coming out party against Campbell, back his true freshman season. Even before Keaton Mitchell, went down with that hit against Cincinnati, and Marlon had to play the majority, if not, about the last quarter and a half of that game. Marlon Gunn was getting significant playing time as a true freshman, so you could see the same out of Montgomery. We shall see.
No doubt.
Yeah, what's really tough to tell about Montgomery is, a lot of that playing time came in the fourth quarter, against, you don't know really what you're getting at that point from the defense. But I agree. I thought he looked really good He looked like a natural running back to me, like just good vision, good ability to cut.
He cuts well, exactly, which is my favorite thing about a running back.
Absolutely. Quick feet in the hole and be able to make a quick cut and get north, as they say. But yeah, I was really encouraged what I saw out of him. And I think my biggest thing with that running back room is you got to get Bond, and we talked about this earlier. He needs 10 to 13, 10 to 14, 10 to 15 touches a game.
Well, he's explosive. I'll tell you, somebody else has got to have more touches, and I think you'll see it this week. And I think their head coach knows it because he coached him, or he was on the same staff. He was on the West Virginia staff when Wilson Wright Jr. was there. We got to get the ball in his hands more. You talk about explosive like Bond, Matt. He's the same kind of explosive. So you got to utilize him more in the passing game this week.
Certainly agree.
And Bubba, I know that there's games around the American this week. You wanted to talk about for week 2?
A lot of good games this week in the American and outside.
All right. Well, we have a chance. We'll.
I didn't realize I was on mute.
Okay.
Probably one of the headliners is certainly number 17 Kansas State, a 9-point favorite in New Orleans against Tulane, and that's a noon kickoff on ESPN. You have Memphis, an 18.5-point home favorite against Troy there at the Liberty Bowl. That's a noon kick on ESPNU. You have Florida Atlantic.
Give me those points, by the way.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you there. Certainly think Memphis will win the game, but that's a challenge to cover that. Florida Atlantic, 3.5-point favorite at home, taking on Army and the Black Knights. First game in the American. That's also a noon kick on the CBS Sports Network. You have
but what did Florida Atlantic do this offseason to be so highly regarded?
That's what I was wondering. I thought that too a couple times.
They must have hit the portal really hard.
And they went and lost 16-10 to who knows, and probably not a very good, probably below average Michigan State team.
Yeah, but they were preseason getting a lot of hype. This just didn't come
True.
from the performance
Right.
of Michigan. So, yeah.
And you got Navy hosting Temple at 3:30, also on the CBS Sports Network. 12.5-point favorite are the Middies. The Tar Heels are hosting Charlotte. That one's also a 3:30 kick.
Wait a minute,
on the ACC network. North Carolina is a 22.5-point favorite. This is a very good matchup. You got Texas State hosting UTSA in a pick'em. That's a 4 p.m. kick on ESPNU.
That's a good game.
UAB, a 13-point favorite at ULM, a 7 o'clock kick on ESPN Plus. Rice hosting Texas Southern at 7 on ESPN Plus. South Florida, you'll recall a season ago, how well they played Bama, nearly knocking them off in Tampa. And that's when you thought Bama may have problems, but Nick Saban and staff made a heck of a turnaround there. But anyway, the 4th-ranked Crimson Tide are a 31-point favorite over the Bulls in Tuscaloosa. 7 o'clock kick on ESPN. This is the game I love. Tulsa and the 7.5 points there, as they are that 7.5-point dog at Arkansas State. Give me Tulsa, and that's a 7 o'clock kick on ESPN Plus. And then the final game in the American of the weekend, North Texas hosting Stephen F. Austin, 7:30 on ESPN Plus. And then another game of interest, the Pirates, of course, will be hosting App State on September 14th. The Apps are a 16.5-point dog at Clemson, which lost to Georgia 34-3. That is an 8 o'clock kickoff.
Some other interesting games to me, Bubba. NC State and Tennessee and Charlotte.
Yeah, Wolfpack a 10-point dog in that one.
BYU. I believe, is a heavy underdog to SMU for whatever reason. Which I remember seeing that spread and thinking it was way too big.
Yeah, I think I saw maybe 12.
Yes. So maybe they know something I don't know. I haven't been impressed with SMU. Although, that performance against Nevada turned around and beat Troy on the road. So who knows? But I think that spread's a little too big. There was a couple other good ones. There's quite a few good games this week, but those are the ones that come to mind.
Some others. You have Texas at Michigan.
That's a pretty big game.
Yeah, number 3 Texas is a touchdown favorite in that one at the Big House. Also of interest, this is more from an underdog perspective. I talked about App State being a 16.5-point dog at Clemson. Obviously that's a very tough assignment no matter when it happens, but coming off a 31-point loss to Georgia, Clemson looking to turn things around in week 2, but I still like Appalachian and the 16.5 points in that one. I talked about Tulsa 7.5. This is one that I'll give credit to Matt here. I had seen it, and I definitely agree with Matt. You had Oregon with a close call against Idaho in week 1. Boise State won a shootout in Statesboro against Georgia Southern. The Broncos getting 21.5 as the Ducks are 21.5-point favorite in that one at Alton Stadium. What are your thoughts about that one, Kyle?
I don't know. I'm not going to base too much on the Oregon-Idaho game. I know Oregon's got a lot of talent, so I won't base too much on that performance. Boise struggled with Georgia Southern for much of the game before putting it away. I don't know. You're thinking the line's too big. You like Boise.
Need to look and see what the over under is in that one.
Yeah, I think it's way too big. I love Boise in that game.
I'm not again. Oregon can't be as bad as they played against Idaho. I don't know. I wouldn't touch that line because I tend to agree that the line's too big, but I also could see Oregon winning it by 21. I mean, easily. Georgia Southern put 35 on them.
The total's 60.5, and
Okay.
the score in that game it's 56-45.
56-45 was the score in the Georgia Southern Boise game.
Yeah. So
So
how many yards will Dylan Gabriel throw for?
Exactly. So
I would tend to take the total in that one.
Yeah.
I think that may be a good pick as well.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I'll tell you that Tulane Kansas State game is a really interesting matchup to me. That's going to be a fun one to watch. Kansas State is one of those teams every year. They're kind of off the radar, but they're always good. They're always very good. And I'm curious to see what Tulane's got, and I think that'll be a fun one to watch.
They got Troy's old coach, right? Tulane.
Yes.
Tulane.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Troy's coach.
John Sumrall.
So. Yep. Thought so.
So Robert Dedrick said, as far as wanting Boise to lose, for the Americans to have a better chance of getting that playoff spot.
A lot of football still to go, whether they lose to Oregon or not. I don't know, Robert, that losing to Oregon is going to, they go 11-1. Their only losses to Oregon, and Oregon has a good season. I don't know that that's the one that's going to put us over the top, meaning the American. But I do get what you're saying.
And James said Oregon played a good Idaho team, very vanilla. Give me Oregon by 21 against Boise State.
There you go,
James is bringing it tonight, man.
So based
James
on
is bringing it.
James would stay away because he thinks that it'll be too close to put a wager on that one.
James James was ready to be done with college football Saturday night. So glad to see James back amongst the college football living.
I'll make a friendly wager with James on that game because I love Boise. So, what's it going to be, James?
Call him out.
You send me up some Southern food, something like that. I don't know.
Mississippi.
Technically, he agrees with you.
Nah, he's gonna give me Boise in 21, didn't he? Or Oregon in 21.
He likes Oregon. Yeah, he likes Oregon.
But the line's 21.5.
I think it's just semantics, Bubba. I think he was saying give me Oregon.
Okay.
So yeah, Matt. Okay, so if Matt wins, he sends James a lasagna, and if James wins or Boise wins or Oregon wins, damn it, the line we're talking. Then he sends you crawdads. Crawfish, catfish. I mean, there's boudin balls. What would you like?
Yeah, some sort of southern
mountain oysters.
Here,
no, you can send him some boudin balls. James, run down to James now lives in far south Mississippi. He's right on the Louisiana line. So run down to oh hell, I can't think of the name of the town he's near right now. It's got a weird name. But he's about 15 minutes from Louisiana. The nearest Walmart's in Louisiana, so he can get you some boudin balls and send them to you. There you go, boudin balls against lasagna. Matt has no idea what a boudin ball is.
I'm not sure exactly, but
it's good. It's basically a fried Louisiana salt. It's like a Cajun sausage in a fried casing in a ball. So it's basically a fried sausage.
That's
ball.
That's better than what I thought it was.
Feeling balls and sausage is not a good combination.
Well, I'm just telling you. In this case, it is. In this case, it is.
Wow. There goes our chance to share the show at other places.
Yeah, we can.
At least it's not my fault this time.
Sorry, Bubba. It was right. It was right there. It was in front of me.
You got to take it if it's there.
I was going to say something. All right. So, do you guys want to do prediction time? Easy for me to say.
Yeah. I'm gonna go. I'll go 20. East Carolina 23. Old Dominion 20.
23-20.
Yep.
So Kyle, what are you thinking? 2 touchdowns, 3 field goals for the Pirates.
Hell, I don't know. We're just going to win 23-20. I'm not breaking it down. We miss a PAT.
All right. What you got, Bubba or Matt? Matt, I know you want to put the prediction out there.
I'm going to say I struggle with this one. I'm going to say 31-17 Pirates.
Wow.
Matt, if we win 31-17, I will send you boudin balls.
It's funny. I'm not. I thought you were going to say my score. My score. I don't know. It's been bothering me all game all night during the show. I'm going 31-27 Pirates.
All right.
Nice pick.
We get it done in Norfolk. But notice, Matt, he's not sending me any of those balls. So.
And anytime you want any boudin balls, Dave, you just let me know. I'm keeping it clean here. You guys are dirty. I am talking about a Cajun delicacy, and you guys are just putting it in the gutter. Bubba, they should be ashamed of themselves.
Yeah, well, I'm not. Let's see, Richard Allsbrook. If you wanted to put your predictions,
we didn't get Bubba's score.
Go ahead, Bubba. Sorry,
I'll give mine in a minute. Richard says 35-10 Pirates.
Again, Richard also is on the boudin ball list. If we do that, Richard, you're getting boudin balls.
You got a whole bunch of boudin balls to send out.
Yeah.
Damn, nice. Right. Richard's
James.
I like it.
ECU wins.
James, will you explain to these people that boudin balls is a real thing and it's a Cajun delicacy and they're delicious? I'm not just making something up.
Hey, Matt, you want some mountain oysters?
It's nothing like that. You don't want mountain oysters, Matt. You do not.
Trust me. Yeah.
For some people, they're a delicacy.
Yeah.
Not for me, but Robert Dedrick says ECU 31-24 over the Monarchs.
What was James's score? I didn't even pay attention. I was too worried about Boudin balls. 24-20 Pirates. Okay.
He said Old Dominion will be trailing 24-20, and he said the Monarchs will throw an interception on the final drive of the game as the Pirates preserve the win.
James, if it plays out exactly that way, I will send you some Boudin balls.
It's very good. Sausage and balls. The women love Boudin balls.
See, even James had to go dirty with it, man. God almighty. I'm ashamed of all of you. All of you are disgusting perverts.
What's wrong with you?
We don't need this kind of talk on the Sports Objective podcast. We are a family-friendly podcast. We don't need any of this. Look, I've cleaned up my act, and everybody else has gone downhill, except for the incomparable moral standard Bubba Rosenbaum.
Bubba is the rock that will not break. How about Robert Dedrick? I like Robert Dedrick's pick. Now, I'm wondering what the difference is. Could it be a Winston Wright kickoff return, maybe?
Oh, he is definitely going to. That dude is lightning. I'm glad to see.
I'll tell you what. Winston Wright would not have a kickoff return against me because I would not kick it to him.
All right.
Would you just take a penalty then?
I just make sure if I can't get it in the end zone, I kick it to an up man. Sky kick it.
All right.
No, I'm not kicking it out of bounds, for God's sake, Dave. I'm not letting them start it at the 40 every time.
Well, I mean, if their defense is better than getting a touchdown. I know what you're saying, but
30 is it the 35 or the 40, guys? Did I just screw that up?
No, I think you're right. It's a 15-yard penalty, which normally you get at the 25. So I believe you are right. It's at the 40. Is that right, Bubba?
Elliot says I'm going big on ECU -1.5. I'll take my chance of $250 that we will beat that spread. He says,
"Wow."
He says we do. I'll send a check for 100 to Team Boneyard.
There you go.
Nice job.
Let's see.
Send out a challenge, Elliot. Send out a challenge to every bettor to do the same thing.
Elliot, I'll match you. All right.
All right. There you go.
If that happens, buddy, and you do it, I'll match it.
And I will send Team Boneyard some Boudin balls.
Oh my God. All right.
I will go as far as my prediction. Realized I have not given my prediction. I will say Pirates 27, Monarch 17.
All right. I can live with that as long as the Pirates win. By the way, guys, did you guys see the sidebar? Speaking of NIL, really quick, did you guys see that Florida State 0-2, right? Did you guys see they've spent $12 million on NIL? I think we talked about it in the group chat, right?
Well, did you hear what Nick Saban said about spending so much money on NIL on College Game Day?
That's it.
You guys, Matt, Bubba, did y'all see that?
Sorry, guys, it cut out. My Wi-Fi cut out. What was the question there?
Dave was speaking that Florida State has spent $12 million on NIL. Did you see what Saban said on College Game Day about spending so much money on NIL and not spending it on the right players?
I did not hear what he said.
Are you guys serious? You haven't seen this?
I didn't. No.
Well, I can't say it on the air. You look for yourself.
Okay. Because we're a clean show.
That's right.
Family oriented.
Apparently, game day is not these days.
But I was thinking, but Logan made a great point. Logan made a great point, by the way, if you get a chance on the Logan Zone this afternoon. He talked
Matt
about.
Listens every day.
I know he does. On 94.3 The Game, Greenville, North Carolina. He was talking about the fact that basically when it comes down to Florida State, they've got a quarterback problem. And that's what their biggest problem. They spend all that money, in NIL. We talked about that earlier, but it comes down, and he made a great point about East Carolina. He was talking about how we didn't have a quarterback last year, and that we went 2-10. And I think overall he's been happy with the quarterback play with.
What is Logan's thoughts? I haven't listened to any of the Logans on. What is his thoughts on Garcia? I would think Logan would love Garcia if he could work with him. I would think just from the attribute standpoint, he seems like a quarterback Logan would love.
According to what he said today, Kyle, he said what he's seen that he likes Jake Garcia. the bit that he's seen. He did say that he thinks, I mean, he likes Malik Murphy, the Texas transfer to Duke, the best. But he did like what he saw out of the Pirates offensively, and coming out and doing what we should have done against Norfolk State. And he thinks that there's a high ceiling there. It was a good start under the new regime on the offensive side. And then we have an announcement here per ECU Pirates FB on X. The Pirates will be wearing, brace yourself, Kyle. I know you don't care, but it's going to be fun to see the social media reaction.
The whites.
Oh, so we're not even doing the modern throwbacks. We're doing the skull and crossbones. Now, see, I don't like that. Now, I don't believe
like
in
the purple helmet with the all white.
Yeah, the purple helmet.
I don't believe in the jinx at all. I think that's nonsense. But if we're going to do white helmets, let's do the modern throwbacks.
I agree with you, Kyle, 1,000%. But you're
In
right.
fact, I think they should be our primary helmets. I would wear them every friggin' game almost.
Yeah,
I like them.
It has nothing to do, like you're saying, it's ridiculous as far as quote jinx. But I just prefer I love the all uniforms, but I prefer the purple helmet with the all white uniform.
I would have went purple pants, white jersey, modern throwback helmet.
That's fine with me. That helmet is really cool.
I'll tell you guys, I guess I'm a little different on this one. I love that white uniform right there. I really do. I kind of like that it's not too complicated. It's simple. And you know what they say, when you wear something about when you wear the all whites, man, it's like you just feel faster. I don't know. You just feel faster. So I love it. I think that's
Alan
a good look
Thomas
right
is freaking out right now. We're 1-11 in those helmets, as Alan Thomas pointed out to me last night. So the former mayor of Greenville, a man who ran for Congress, a very well-educated man, believes that helmets are cursed.
Well, what about this? Craig says, "Oh, damn, the white helmet. I believe in the jinx."
Well, you got to do shit. So there, Craig, another intelligent man,
Extremely.
intelligent American. That was
He
my
worked for
Iron
the
Jake.
government.
But he doesn't believe in the white helmet jinx if it's the modern throwback.
Yeah, correct. And neither do I. And I don't believe in any of that crap. Just like we couldn't win in Birmingham until we did, and then did again, and then did again. And just like we couldn't remember, right, Bubba? Remember when we couldn't win in all purple until we beat North Carolina in 07?
Oh yeah.
So
I forgot all about that.
Because we wore the all purple for the first time in a long time. I say a long time, about 5 years, and we had not worn it. 6 years. So the Art Baker years, we never wore it under Bill Lewis, and then Matt's
Liberty Bowl '94.
Matt's redshirt freshman year in '94, we got beat 30-0. That was all the purple uniforms. It had nothing to do with Simeon Rice and Kevin Hardy.
Yeah, with Illinois, Illinois was not a good team. It was all about the uniforms.
God, I hated those purple uniforms we wore that day. They were disgusting looking.
Did you feel like Grimace?
Oh, they were terrible. Absolutely terrible.
Oh,
that's
man.
for another day, fellas.
I
think
if
it makes anybody feel better, a lot of the guys on the roster right now, probably 90% of them weren't on the team when we wore, when we had all these losses in that white uniform. So let's change the trend.
Talent is talent, and I tell you what, I'm fired up. I'm ready. I'll be at the game. Bubba's going to be at the game. So we're going to miss you, Kyle. I thought for sure you'd be at the game because it's so close by.
We talked about it. We talked about it last night, actually. But no, we're gonna sit this one out. Dave, we need to get with you. We need to finalize if we're going to West Point for sure. We need to get tickets bought. We'll take care of that off the air. But as far as ODU, no, I'm more inclined to go to the Liberty game. I love the mountains. Going up to Lynchburg. It's more appealing to me than going to Norfolk, and not as far a drive. I thought it was like 4 hours to
3 hours and 22 minutes for me.
Yeah, exactly. And so, something we might do.
All right, we're going. So we got a group of guys going. So we need, Bubba's going. So Semenza, come on, can you come down, or to your favorite university, Charlotte? I mean, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, that's a great question, Craig. If anybody's tuned in that went to that 2019 game, I would appreciate, and other Pirates would appreciate you chiming in regarding the parking. It is at a premium there on the ODU campus around Ballard Stadium.
Not much.
That was very apparent. When I checked out the stadium last summer, and they do, as Craig said, they have some garages right there around the stadium.
I think that's the primary parking, Bubba, is the parking garages. I remember from having somebody on, the beat writer or something. We played them in 19.
Harry Minium.
Yeah, that is the primary parking, is the parking garages. I'm sure there are other options. My advice to any Pirate that's wondering, head over to the ODU message board. I'm not sure. That may be still on BBS, actually. In fact, I think it is.
Wow.
So head over to the primary ODU best message board and ask there, would be my advice. And if you're not familiar with BBS is, it is, I believe it used to be NCAA BBS. I believe it's CS BBS now, College Sports BBS. I believe that's where the primary ODU board is. Don't quote me on that, but I'm almost positive it's still over there.
What about restaurants? Any good restaurants downtown right now?
Well, it's pretty neat around their arena, and I have not tried to get in the new arena that day, but to no avail. But they have a lot of shops and restaurants right there around their basketball arena, which is not too far from the stadium. So it's across whatever that main road is right there that separates the arena and the side of campus where Ballard Stadium is.
And how about the Scope?
How about the Scope?
There's a lot of great concerts.
A lot of legendary wrestling matches from the Jim Crockett promotion days in the NWA took place in the Norfolk Scope.
And a lot of losses to Oliver Purnell and Odell Hodge and the Monarchs in basketball, unfortunately.
Yep, those were that we called them. Well, I can't say that because I don't want the fans mad. But back in the CAA days,
old dummy.
Yeah.
Thanks, Will. Will Landon chiming in. Best parking is in the decks on each in north and south end.
Yeah, so for tailgating, guys, you guys are going to be tailgating at a parking deck. So if you like to tailgate, and I've done it, I've seen people do it. Oh, I haven't done it, but I've seen people tailgate at the in the parking garages.
In Chapel Hill.
Well, no, I'd stay away from there. But outside of Red Hat before concerts, people tailgate in the parking garages. So it can be done. If there's a will, there's a way.
And what about Vanderbilt, Bubba? When we played there in 21, didn't there a lot of people? Wasn't there like a parking garage there?
Yeah, out beyond right field.
My God, I'm glad you said baseball. I was like, when the hell did we play Vanderbilt?
Yeah, out beyond right field.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, fellas, watch out for Vanderbilt, guys.
Yeah, I kind of thought they were going to give Virginia Tech a ball game, and they beat them. I really liked they brought in the quarterback from
Diego Pavia.
Yes, but not only that, Jerry Kill retired, and they said, "Hey, Jerry, you want to come be offensive assistant head coach?" And then they let Jerry Kill hire his own OC, and I believe it was Tim Becky brought in. And
I was about to say they brought.
Yeah, so they basically have two head coaches there now, one in charge of defense, one in charge of offense, and I think Vandy. If I'm Virginia Tech fans, I'm not as concerned as a lot of them are. I think Vandy's legitimately good, and I think they're going to be a problem in the SEC this year for some people. They ain't going to win the league, don't get me wrong, but they're going to pull some upsets off.
Yeah, hey guys, hat tip to Clark Lee on doing what was in his best interest and the program's best interest, and
absolutely,
and being because that. It's easier said than done. You'd think, well, why wouldn't you bring in a coach the caliber of Jerry Kill? A lot of times, a coach, it's tough for them to swallow their pride, and they're deeming it as a threat.
Yeah, right. And I don't think Jerry Kill wants to be a head coach anymore. He retired from New Mexico State. Now he's the assistant head coach in charge of offense, and then has an offensive coordinator. It's nice to have that kind of budget, also, isn't it?
No doubt. And I've been saying for years, Vanderbilt in Nashville, It's a great place to live. It's they have a lot of money there, and they just went out.
NIL changes everything for them.
Yeah, no doubt. And by the way, here's another team, guys, I was going to tell you to watch out for. What do you guys think about Arkansas? They're another team to watch out for in the SEC.
I haven't really. Well, I don't know. I mean, based on what? What do you? I mean, I'm not saying you're wrong. What are you basing that on?
I think Dave's thinking, with Bobby Petrino back there.
Yeah.
Oh, it's OC. Okay.
He's back there as OC. Plus,
they got an opportunity to turn some heads this weekend. They're in Stillwater taking on Oklahoma State. The Cowboys are a 7.5-point favorite, and Craig Doucette chiming in here once again regarding the parking situation on Saturday at ODU. Says he thinks, like at James Madison, ODU does not allow tailgating in the parking decks. And
are you serious? Wow.
And then kind of switching gears here, Craig said, speaking of coaches, does ECU have a Connor Stallions on staff? I'm not. That's something that obviously Craig's joking to at least to a degree, but at the same time, that's something that you're always, you have someone assigned to trying to decipher those signals. And hey, Craig, why don't you decipher them from the stands this weekend?
No doubt. James says Bobby Petrino OC for Arkansas is good, but give me Okie State by 14.
I agree. I like Oklahoma State to cover. I think it'll be a competitive game, but I think they'll win by 10-14 or something.
Yeah, no. Oklahoma State will beat Arkansas and then lose to UMass or whoever they play the following. Oklahoma State always loses to somebody weird.
Yeah, remember that crazy play against Central Michigan?
I do, yes. We need to, by the way, they want to do a bye game? Let's do a bye game at Oklahoma State. Can we do that?
That would be fun. In Stillwater.
Yeah, we'll beat them.
Sounds good to me. I don't have a problem for it.
Last time Southern Miss played down there, they beat them.
Yeah, Southern Miss has been beating a lot of teams over the years, right? They are one of the textbook definitions for giant killers over the years.
East Carolina and Southern Miss. We're Boise State before Boise.
No doubt.
Matt's favorite team.
Or App State, yeah.
Boise is Matt's favorite team, I think.
I remember watching.
I like Boise. I respect that program. They've been solid for a long time.
I wish we could have gone to Idaho, Matt, but unfortunately, we're not going to be able to go to Idaho.
Well, you can still go.
We're just not playing them, though.
They haven't closed Idaho. You can still go. I remember watching in the early 2000s Fresno State and hearing the announcer on ESPN refer to Fresno State as the East Carolina or Southern Miss of the West Coast. I miss those days.
Well, we got to build it back up, right?
Yeah.
All right, guys. Do you have anything? I know a busy week, but Pirates looking good. Do you have any? We'll go around. This is last call. Do you guys have any final words? Kyle?
I'm looking forward to college football this weekend. Hopefully the Pirates bring back a W from Norfolk. And, are we Norfolk champions? Are we champions of the city of Norfolk if we win this one? We've taken out Norfolk State. If we take out ODU, are we city champions? I think so.
What say you, Matt?
I just again, I guess my final thought is, if we want to be, I guess I'm trying to channel my inner Dennis Smith, not Dennis Smith, the old coach for the Vikings. If we are who we say we are.
Denny Green.
Denny Green. Thank you, Bubba.
Dennis Barluza.
If we are who we say we are, or who we think we want to be, it's really confusing. We need to win this game. I think we have more talent. I think we have a good system in place. I think defensively, I really like what I see from our defense. So this is a winnable game, and we need to go get it. We need to go take it.
Matt, what was that quote again?
I think I forgot already. It wasn't very memorable. I think I combined like 3 different quotes to try to make one. It was if we are who we think we are.
The Bears are who we thought they were.
I think it's remember, yesterday is today, and today is tomorrow. So let's make tomorrow today. So yesterday is tomorrow.
What the?
Kyle, are you unburdened by what has been?
I am unburdened by what has been and can be unburdened by what can be.
I forgot all this. This is classic. Oh my gosh. All right, Bubba. Do you have any?
Dave's laughing, actually.
James had something else for Matt here. He'd like a podcast with Matt for him and Marshawn Kenny.
I would love that, James. That'd be awesome.
Set it up.
I'm definitely not a legend, though. I'll say
Yeah,
that.
you are.
But I appreciate those nice thoughts, brother. And I would definitely do that anytime.
For
I have
those
a lot
that
of
don't,
respect for USM.
no doubt. The white helmets.
Craig's not a fan.
No, but didn't you in 1995? Didn't you sack Peyton Manning 5 times in Neyland Stadium?
Every year, becomes more and more. I think.
Yeah.
By the time I'm 50, it's going to be like 6 or 7 times. Yeah, you know how it is.
Oh yeah, I know you're very humble. You don't like to brag about it, but back in your time, in your day. All right.
Single-handedly brought us back against Wake Forest. 5 interceptions and blocked a punt.
Man,
that's right.
I missed that block punt, but anyway, guys, it's going to be great. I can't wait, and then we'll have our playback Sunday night, right? And hopefully we can talk about the playback. We can talk about a big Pirate victory and on to Appalachian State. But I promise you that Mike Houston, the staff, the players, they're not even focused on anything for next week. And
James said Matt intercepted Lee Roberts in 97.
Yeah, that was about the only thing, my only positive memory from that night, James. Trying to forget that.
That was the 96 game because that was the one where you
28-0
deflected up in the air and you caught it.
Yep.
96. Yeah.
That was a game we were rolling.
The 97 game was actually in Greenville too, though.
Yeah,
that
was.
That was right after back-to-back shutouts, and we found a way that day to make it competitive. But I don't know, we lost something like 23-13 or something.
Yeah, I remember that game well for whatever reason.
Jeff says, "Is it me? But Mike Houston doesn't show any emotion when we win. Any thoughts?"
I call BS on that. I definitely see emotion out of Mike Houston when we win.
Yeah,
I can remember after the Memphis game. How about the friggin' Pirates? How about those friggin' Pirates? So no, yeah, he definitely shows emotion after we win.
I was sitting next to it's scared I go. I'll never forget that.
Nah, he definitely
slapped the crap out of the podium.
Yeah, maybe not as much against the Norfolk States of the world, but I bet you if we win this weekend and particularly when we beat App State next weekend, we're going to see some emotion.
Yeah, and I've seen it, guys. I will tell you, and Jeff, I've been in press conferences where he's fired up like that. I've also seen him when we had close games where he had tears in his eyes because we should have won the game. So the emotions are definitely there, and I agree with the fellas. That one, he definitely shows emotions. Trust me.
Yeah, I'll say a lot. I've said a lot of positive things. I've said a lot of negative things about Mike Houston, but and I'm not saying Jeff was saying this is a negative or positive, but I do think he shows emotions, win or lose. Now, if you're talking on Monday after the Monday press conference or Tuesday press conference, maybe not. But the post game press conference, yeah, there's emotions for sure. I've seen them many times.
No doubt. And Ron, James.
Sorry, that was clicked the wrong comment. He said not at the press conference. He's talking about on the sideline.
Oh well, yeah. Well, I think that's a good thing, Jeff. I think
coach. I agree.
Yeah, he's very focused. It's not that he's dull or boring. It's the fact that he's concentrating on the game. And I think that Matt, you remember when Coach Logan.
Let me cut you off, Dave, but I can think of at the end of the BYU game and at the end of the Navy game on the sidelines, he showed emotions on both of those.
Yeah, he had an excellent phrase he uttered, at the end of the Navy when Daffer hit the 54-yarder.
What was it, Bo? What was it, Bo? You want to repeat that?
Yeah.
I forgot about that, Bubba.
I'm trying to remember what he said because he's like, I know my mom. He said I already apologized to my mom for it.
All right.
But also, kind of along those lines, the BYU game came to mind as well, Kyle. And then I did notice this, kind of going back and watching some of Saturday against Norfolk State. It was pretty electric there, after the slow start and the 3-0 deficit. We had the 48-yard kick return by Winston Wright. And we had the touchdown to Casey Kelly, got a stop. Then it seems like had a big pass play where Anthony Smith lost his shoe, and then we handed the ball off to Javius Bond, and he took it about 15 yards for a touchdown. That was an electric sequence there, and I saw some emotion from Coach Houston on the replay with a little bit of a fist pump when Javius broke into the open field and was going to walk in, and I bet so, regardless of the opponent. After our struggles last year, to score 2 quick ones like that, was certainly satisfying for Coach.
I do have one final question. Do you, if you win the toss, do you take it or defer?
Defer.
Would you defer, Matt, or take it? Take the ball. Guess we lost Matt. Bubba, do you take it or defer?
I'm like Kyle. I like to defer and come out and get that stop, and then be able to get a score at the end of the first half and get the ball to start the second half.
Well, that's what I normally like to do. I'm just wondering if that's my normal go-to. I'm just wondering do we need to pounce on them, like what we're talking about, scoring quick? Do we get the ball, score, stop them, and score again?
Well, I think this game, I think kicking off, letting the defense flip the field, right off the bat, and get the ball about our own 40 after a stop or something. I think that was my thinking.
Yeah,
it wouldn't stun me. I mean, you saw what we did against Norfolk State. Well, then again, I don't know whether we won the toss.
Norfolk won the toss.
I knew that we obviously received.
Craig said the white helmets give me the ball. James says I take the ball and get on them ASAP. I was just trying to be.
I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure that our defense is pretty salty. So I'm not so sure that you can't get on them. By playing good defense and maybe correcting the turnover or getting a short field. I understand the thought process. This is also game 2 of this offense. So what are the odds of coming out and scoring on the first drive?
Especially on offense. ODU turnover prone in their first game. The way we play defense, you could create that short field with the early turnover.
Yeah, that was just food for thought. It wasn't like that's really what I want to do, because I usually that's my thinking is defer to the second half. No. All right, you guys about ready to wrap this thing up? Put a bow in it, put it to bed. All right, sounds good for me. Thanks, guys. Thanks to Bubba, Kyle, Matt, for all the Pirates listening and watching. Thank you so much. Another big show, and you know what? Be safe going to Norfolk and back. Let's get a victory. And join us Sunday night as we bring you the Pirate Playback. It's all right here on the Sports Objective. Good night, everybody. And as always, go Pirates.
You're watching the Sports Objective, the podcast for Pirates.